What's going on, people? Welcome back to AFTV. You'll join us for the predicted 11 for the big game, PSG versus Arsenal in the Champions League. It's our second leg. We are currently 1-0 down on aggregate, but we're going to try and decide who we want to see and who we think Arteta is going to go with for this big game. I want to kind of premise it with all the information that we need to. Thomas Partey returns after his suspension. He's available for selection, which we'll get to in a second. Actually, let's talk about during Timber as well. Didn't feature against Bournemouth. We don't, at time of recording, don't know if he's going to be fit and available, but I feel like if I'm going off what we know from Arsenal, he's probably going to be fit and available. They're just resting him for that.
Did the manager say he was a doubt, or is that just mind games? Or
I think it was mind games, but I think he did say, "Well, we're not 100% sure." I might be wrong.
Yeah,
I didn't really want to listen to him much after the result. I can't be honest. I'm so petty.
And then
obviously
on the other hand, before we get into the Prince 11, obviously on PSG side, Ousmane Dembele, there's obviously word that he's not available. He's recovering from
mind games.
Yeah, he's recovering from an injury. That even though the manager did say, Luis Enrique said he's progressing well. I think what you mentioned there, I think it's more mind games.
I don't think there is something in that. You know, he came off with a hamstring injury. You know, you okay a week after? I mean, maybe. I don't think it's as. I don't think that feels as much mind games. I think there's a legitimate chance he's out, but who knows?
Potentially. I don't know, and hopefully,
without wishing bad luck on it, I'd love it if he was out.
Yeah. They'll have Gonzalo.
Oh no,
Ramos.
Bradley Barcola comes in. Like, good.
Oh yeah, or Ramos will come in as well there. But so that's kind of all the news there. I think Lee as well in their last game. They played. He come off injured, but he was never likely to start anyway. So so that is. I think that's the whole premise. I think obviously, and Arsenal's injuries. Do I have to run through them? I mean, Jorginho, lung, rib. I don't know what it is these days. Gabriel Magalhaes, Gabriel Jesus, Tomiyasu. Ben White is available, and sorry, it's down here. Calafiori and Kai Havertz obviously not available. So that is the full context of what we have to select from. You know, Thomas Partey is really the only one that's returns that we'll be probably discussing massively. But let's start in goal.
Yeah.
David Raya, we don't have to spend too long in it, do we? I don't think. I mean,
no brainer.
No brainer. There's not much really to be said. I mean,
some people have been giving him a bit of criticism. I think a lot of what he's doing is coaching, if I'm honest. You know, when he's stepping into the back four, when he's pinging diagonals, I think a lot of that is coaching. I think he's doing what he's told. And to be honest, he's not really making any errors. I can't think of any goals that he should have done better with. Maybe that one, the Bournemouth winner. But I've been very happy with him this season. I think he's top. I'm going to need a top performance from him again.
He's been very good this season. However, I would slightly disagree with you, James. I think for that second goal, the Bournemouth one, I think he should have saved it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think I partly agree.
But that doesn't detract from his overall performance.
It was close range and it was handball in my opinion. And it should have counted anyway. But let me not. Yeah, it's done. We weren't going to.
Yeah, anyway. He's going to play. Yeah.
Okay, let's do back four. What are you wanting to see and what you think Arteta is going to go with?
Timber, Saliba, Kivior and Lewis Skelly is my back four.
Yeah, absolutely. There is an issue though with Timber, isn't there? Because
that's what I mentioned before. I mean, he wasn't available. He wasn't in the squad. I don't believe. Yeah, he wasn't in the squad at all actually for Bournemouth. But again, it could be rest because it could be. You know, the overload.
Are you happy that if Ben White plays, he's up to the levels?
Apparently, he didn't have a really good game against Bournemouth. Apologies, we was on the watch long altogether, but I didn't.
Got done a few times. I thought.
I didn't know that.
But that's kind of been a feature. I mean, but Ben White, I don't think has ever been great in the one-on-one battles. Right. I think it's more his positioning, his intelligence on the ball. You know, I think he's a very sturdy, brilliant defender. But on the ball, his quality and how he facilitates everything down that right-hand side is his greatest strength, which is weird because you're talking about a centre-back converted right-back. You'd think he'd be a little bit better. But I saw him, you know, I think second home game of the season, or Mitoma was killing him in that game against Brighton. So he can struggle every now and again, Ben White, in those battles. Timber much more solid in the one-on-one duels. But he gives us something going forward, Ben White. He's much better at reading the overlap. And listen, we're going to Paris needing a goal. Whatever happens, if Arsenal to go through, they have to score a goal at some point at the Parc des Princes. And maybe Ben White being on that pitch is your best chance of doing it. But I think first and foremost, you stop PSG. So Timber obviously gets the start.
It's a great point. I think, Ben White, offensively, we could need him. But also, for me, when you're going away, you need... I like how Arsenal are so solid when they go away in defence. I think they look to that first before attacking, even though we have decimated teams away. I think we're so much better away, and I think you need Timber in there. Granted, I say all this reflecting on the first performance going back to Skelly, and he was giving him a nightmare. But I think
that's interesting. Sorry to jump in again, but I mean, football's eyes first, sure. I think some of the stats where he didn't complete a single dribble or something, or he didn't beat, it was something like that. See, or it was his lowest dribbles completed of the season, something like that for Kvaratskhelia. And you could see he was working Timber. I mean, I think they should have had a penalty when Timber had his arm out.
Correct.
But largely, what was the first 20 minutes? I was testing for the whole team. I think after that, I actually thought Lewis Skelly and Timber just about came out on top. I mean, Doué and Kvaratskhelia were unbelievably bright on the day.
Yeah.
But I actually thought what was a difficult first 20 minutes actually resulted in our fullbacks getting control of that. And I don't think they quite got enough credit, because I think Doué and Kvaratskhelia looked a lot brighter than Vinicius and Rodrigo ever did.
It's interesting. Sorry, we'll spend a lot of time on this, but yeah, I just think that penalty should have been a penalty. So I feel like he's got beaten of him there. He's also done 2 men, and also the fact that Rice, maybe this is the way Arsenal play. Rice has left his man really to support Timber. Really, if I didn't think Kvaratskhelia was having a good game or having a better of him, Rice should trust his man one-on-one, but he didn't. Maybe Arsenal do that every week, and I haven't noticed that, but him leaving that man led to the goal from Dembele. So I just feel like mentally and from performance-wise, they had a beating on him. Yeah, you're right, we only ended up being 1-0, so really, you can say, and wingers, I mean, fullbacks do get beat. That's the wingers' job, is to consistently go at their fullback. So they're going to get beat. But for me, I just felt like those two, the wingers, Doué and Kvaratskhelia, had a really good game. But the back four we've all mentioned is the one I think we all want to see. I think it's the only one Arteta's going to go with. Granted, if Timber's not available, it's obvious swap for Ben White. Midfield 3. Now, this is an interesting conversation. Obviously, Partey's back, but what makes this interesting is I am so stumped of what Arteta's going to do in the 9. So this will kind of give us the clarity from what you guys want to see and what you think Arteta's going to go with. So in the midfield, do you put Miguel Merino in there, or do you go with the obvious, strongest and only really midfield of the Partey, Odegaard and Rice?
To me, our strongest midfield this season has been Partey 6, Rice 8 and Odegaard 10. And I think that's what we should go with in, let's face it, the most important game so far of our season. A game that we're behind the 8 ball and we need a performance. I think we missed Partey lots in that first leg. And I'm glad to see Partey back. And yeah, that's the midfield I would go with, and I also think it's a midfield the manager will go with. Okay, well,
the midfield the manager will go with, James.
Yeah.
Will it be the midfield that the manager goes? Because we've seen him try the Trossard in the 9. I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but surely he would have started that against. But I don't know why he didn't do that. Or is it just?
No, I never really quite saw it that way, because I think you can use the opportunities to keep trying Trossard to see if sort of more and more comes out of him. But ultimately, you know that Merino is more in the frame of what Arteta wants from his 9. Do I necessarily agree with that? Not really. I keep making the point that Barcelona with Ferran Torres and Dembele doing it for PSG, they're kind of 2 more false 9 profiles, if you like. And they were brilliant and kept getting the ball and got their goals and had their moments in the Champions League semi-finals. So I don't really see why an Arsenal side couldn't play great football and couldn't control a game of football with Trossard as the false 9, as we did 2 years ago at times quite well. But that's not what Arteta wants to do, that position. He wants someone who's a little bit more of a presence, and Merino isn't a forward like Trossard, but he's actually got as much closer to Havertz in build and style and kind of strengths and weaknesses. So on the midfield, I think it will be Partey, Rice and Odegaard. Yep. Just on Rice, he's really emerging. I mean, we talk about, you just rightly said it there, Rice 8, Partey 6, Odegaard 10. That's kind of how we see them, you know, kind of on the pitch, you know, but with Odegaard slightly more advanced. But the more the season goes on, the more we watch Rice, he's actually in far more advanced positions than Odegaard now. He's the one breaking forward, and it's not just for the goal, which we saw. He's actually sometimes holding a position higher up the pitch, almost as a striker. He's got something like, I heard Gunnar Blog say, I think it was something like 38 goals and assists in 100 games for Arsenal. It's really, really good output. Set piece will have played a part in that. Brilliant. His set piece delivery is fantastic.
Over 1 in 3 is good.
And he's been getting assists and he's been getting big goals as well. I mean, you can think of ones at Old Trafford, a really good goal from distance against Palace, the 2 against Real Madrid, and then the one the other day. He's scoring goals, and fair play to him, because if you're going to be that player who bursts through from midfield, then actually there's got to be a reason for it, is that you've got some output. So fair play to him. I've always said for me Rice is more a 6, but I'm looking really wrong on that, because his output's fantastic. So yeah,
and also
I
on
think
that as well, I think
balance.
the partnership that those two have established, with Partey holding and Rice being able to be that box to box, making those marauding runs, I reckon that works really well.
Yeah,
the DNA of that the way the 2 of them have meshed really does complement Arsenal well.
I've spoken heavily on Rice and given him so much praise and flowers for what he's done in this side. I think you're being a bit harsh on yourself when you say you always see him as a 6, and you know the stats show that he can play the 8 very well. I think the 6 he actually also plays very well as well. I think he's just as good.
Terrific footballer.
Exactly. He's a complete midfielder in my opinion. So
was it you? I've got to give you credit. You were making the point that he's a lot more technically adept than people give him credit for. And I think one or two people was maybe not second guessing, but kind of questioning that. But I'm with you on that, man. I think technically he's excellent as well.
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's a lot of professional footballers that speak about Declan Rice and how technically gifted he is, and from a young age all the way up until now, and I go off there.
People needed a reminder. Look how well he's to Real Madrid goals, man.
Exactly.
If that's not technical ability, I don't know what that is.
He's a magician with the ball. Sometimes the things we see in the Premier League and in the match day is completely different to what they actually are capable of. I say that a lot about a lot of players because I've worked with a lot of players. So yes, but thank you for that. Thomas Partey has to have a really good game. We can spoke about that. Martin Odegaard. I don't want to go in too long on him because he will know himself. I don't want to be that person. But I will say, if he hits the levels that we need of him in that game, people, I don't know, I think people will just not forget, but they will be a lot more
forgiving
of the past
over the weekend.
I'll
be interested to hear what you and James think about this. Is this game coming up on Wednesday the biggest of Martin Odegaard's career so far, given everything that's happened?
It's the biggest of most of their careers. I mean, Saka and Rice have played in Euros finals and stuff, but
but I'm thinking more into. I mean, there's a school of thought at Arsenal. I've spoken to a lot of people about this. Some people are saying drop him. A lot of people are saying, take the captaincy of him. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what people have said to me. So, given the magnitude of this game, given what's at stake, given that Odegaard's the captain, if he starts on.
It is
Wednesday, which we expect him to. This is probably the biggest game of his career.
Yeah, it is.
Certainly at Arsenal.
The Community Shields don't count. It is. If I mean, they obviously add something, but it is because you're right. I mean, he wasn't there for the FA Cup win. This obviously the next biggest game will be the final if we get there. But I believe so. I mean, we chased for the title. We didn't.
I'd rephrase it and say there's probably never been more pressure on him than there is in this game.
Well,
that this is big eyes on him for this one. Yeah, there really are.
All right, let's move forward to the front line, and we kind of touched on it we kind of understand what our front line is going to be by the midfield. Before we go to the front line, let us know if you'd make any changes to that midfield. It's the one that every fan I know loves and adores, and Ethan Wanyeri, very risky, but you might be screaming he should be playing, and you might be right depending on what happens after Wednesday, or you might be completely wrong. Front three.
So look, Saka on the right is the obvious one. I think he'll go Marino up front. Now look, I think he's going to go for Martinelli. I think there'll be a temptation to play Trossard on the left. I don't think he will because you've got Martinelli's work rate.
Why the temptation?
I think the temptation because Trossard is probably the most productive, bar Saka, of sort of every other forward option we've got. Yeah. He's the one who kind of needs that half chance. I mean, people were talking about the chances that were missed the other night against PSG. Martin, for me, should have done better, but it's a good save. Whereas I actually think Trossard picked out the corner. It's a great save from Donnarumma. I think he took that well, and he was just met by a world-class goalkeeper. The way I look at it is, Martin, again, because of his pace and his work rate, ability to stretch a game, I think you go for Martinelli. But Trossard was doing his thing on the left for a little while, between, I'd say, December to maybe Jan or Feb. Mm-hmm. He was digging out really good crosses left foot. He was beating his fullback regularly, and actually puts up numbers. And for someone who's so in and out of the team, I still think he's got the highest output numbers of every player in the squad. So I'd go Martinelli, but I do think there's a temptation with Trossard. But super sub, 12th man, all that, he can come on and have a big impact if we need him to. It wouldn't surprise me if Trossard has his moment on Wednesday night.
Laurie, front three, I mean, is it Saka, Marino and Martinelli?
Again, this is what I would do, and I think that's the way the manager will go. Be Saka on the right, Martinelli on the left, and Mourinho through the middle. I think that's what you'll go with.
Yeah.
With Martinelli, I think he is without doubt the quickest, most explosive player in Arsenal's team, and I think that could be something that we may need to call upon against PSG. I think if he plays well, he could be a big determinant factor in the game.
Right.
Because he will definitely be able to. I mean, he didn't do it enough in the first leg. He never went after Hakimi the way he should have done.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that Hakimi got booked quite early in that game. I would have expected Trossard to a bit more aggressive. But I think this time, Mikel Arteta will say, listen, man, every time you get the opportunity, go for it, test him. You know what I mean? Let's see what he's got.
All right, you're spot on then. Let's round off this Predict 11 because I think, I'll be honest, it's the 11 I think many would expect, and it's 11 that needs to really be at 10s to get us over the line, in my opinion, 9s and 10s. Before we close, what player for you is the one to pull us out of this? What's the play? What one player is the one that
Saka.
gets? Yeah,
he's our best player, man.
So he's the one.
He does it. He gets that goal at the Bernabeu after missing a penalty. He's just. I still think for all the praise he gets, we don't really truly go on about how good he is.
I hear that.
And I think whenever Arsenal needs something, he's the one who steps up more than any. Listen, Rice can, Trossard can, but yeah, Saka. He'll keep having his moments, I think.
Laurie,
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah,
the only thing I
obviously.
would say on that is that I think that the substitutions are going to be vital in this game.
Yeah.
I was trying to work that out as
I
well,
agree.
but there's not. But it's Ethan.
That's why I think Trossard will have his moment.
Yeah, I think Trossard, I think Wanyeri, I think the manager, one of the things I think he definitely got wrong in the first leg was the lack of rotation.
Yeah.
In this game, he needs to put that right. He needs to be proactive. If something's not working, make the change. Don't panic, you know what I'm saying? But if the game is going a certain way and things are not happening the way he wants it to, then he has to be brave enough to make the call. If he does that, I think it can pay dividends.
Amazing. Well, that is it for the Prince 11 video, and I want you to get in the comments and give me the answer to that question at the end. Is it different to what we, all three of us, think? Starboy Saka to be the one to really pull us out of the mess. I mean, could there be a surprise for Mikel Merino and him, be a hero? Could it be Martin Odegaard changing his narrative of this year by putting in a massive performance? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video on your way out, and honestly, come on, you Gunners. I can't emphasise that anymore. Come Wednesday night. Take care.
Calling all Kenyan football fans, the AFTV watch party is going down. Liverpool versus the Arsenal on the 11th of May from 4 p.m. at Ponca 254 next to the Two Rivers Mall. Me and Cecil are hosting, bringing the heat, the banter, non-stop vibes, big screen, live entertainment, sizzling nyama, choma, and one legendary party. Powered by Betika, Kenya Airways, Steam, and Serena Hotels. Don't miss out. Be there. Don't be there just hearing about it. Take part in it.